Today we're looking at the Redmi Note 13 Pro 5G to see if it's still worth it in 2025. I'm also curious how this compares to the A series by Samsung, so let's go ahead and get started. It's got a 6.67 inch AMOLED display with 1220 by 2712 resolution, up to 120 Hz refresh rate, 1800 nits peak brightness. This phone actually has really thin bezels on the sides, just a little bigger on the top and bottom. The one I've got here is 8 GB of RAM with 256 GB of storage, but you can also get a version that has 12 or 16 GB of RAM and up to 512 GB of storage. Unfortunately, this doesn't take an SD card to expand the storage. It's not quite as good as Samsung when it comes to software updates, but it does have 3 years software, 4 years security updates, so it still has some life left on it. To me, one of the best parts of this phone, it only weighs 187 grams, which is pretty light compared to most newer phones that I've tested recently, including the A series from Samsung. The price for this one is under $300. Obviously, that's going to be different depending on where you're located, but I'll leave a link down below with current pricing and more information. It actually has really nice build quality. One downside is it looks like the cameras on the back stick out really far on this. As far as software goes, this is on Android 14, Xiaomi HyperOS. It's going to be a little bit different if you're used to Samsung phones. This one's definitely a little bit different than on Samsung or Pixel phones. I kind of like how you can adjust the volume up in the control center. Notifications are on the left. It's almost a combination of what you would see on Android with a mix of what you see on iPhones. You've got gesture or 3-button navigation on here, just like most other Android phones. Google Discover Newsfeed left of the home screen. I don't know if it's the fact that I'm used to other Android phones more than Redmi phones, but the software on here actually seems really quick. Probably a little faster than some of the cheaper A series phones from Samsung. As far as screen quality, this actually looks much better than you would expect on a more affordable phone like this. It can also go up to upscaled 4K resolution for YouTube videos. It's wide vinyl 1 for streaming apps like Netflix. It's got a 5,100 milliamp hour battery and up to 67 watt fast charging as well. I ran my typical battery drain test at 100% screen brightness and it lasted almost 16 hours. And that's right up there towards the top of phones with the best battery life that I've tested. So you can easily get a couple days with the mixed usage, even longer if you turn the screen brightness down. When it comes to performance, it actually has pretty similar Geekbench results to the Galaxy A35 and the Galaxy A55 on single and multi-core scores, but it is quite a bit lower on GPU score. The good thing is I can still use my Razer controller with this phone, even though the camera bump sticks out quite a bit. Just testing out games like PUBG Mobile and Asphalt Legends Unite, they actually play really good on here. I think most people would be surprised at the performance you get on a more affordable phone like this. Obviously, it's going to depend on which games you're playing, but it's definitely better than I expected for performance and gaming as well. This has a headphone jack, so that's always good to see. Surprisingly, the speakers on here are a little louder than I was expecting, but here's a quick sample just to give you an idea of what it sounds like. Kind of crazy, but this phone has a 200 megapixel camera on the back, which is much higher than the competition. Then it's got an 8 megapixel ultra wide and 2 megapixel macro lens on the back, a 16 megapixel front facing camera as well. When it comes to the camera, this actually has a lot of different modes and settings to adjust. The shutter speed actually seems pretty good. It can record up to 4K 30 frames per second for video recording. I like how they have the 200 megapixel as its own mode, so you don't have to go into the settings to adjust things. It does take a little bit longer to process for the 200 megapixel mode, but seems to have pretty good quality. Here's a few quick samples just to give you an idea of what to expect as far as camera quality goes for the Redmi Note 13 Pro 5G. The one downside to this phone, it only shoots up to 1080p resolution for the front-facing camera, but overall camera and video quality is actually better than I expected on this phone. I feel like it easily competes against a lot of the Galaxy A series phones from Samsung, maybe even slightly better in some cases, but overall this is definitely better than I expected. It's got good screen quality, pretty good performance for the price. The one downside is if you're in the United States, you're pretty limited on which networks this phone will work with. I know for me, it's kind of fun to check out devices or phones like this that might be popular in other countries, but to me, the Redmi Note 13 Pro 5G is definitely right up there with a lot of other phones that I've tested recently, so I'll definitely have to check out some more of their phones, along with some of the other brands out there as well. If you like phones, tablets, and other tech, I've got a lot more stuff that I'm working on, so keep an eye out for those upcoming videos. So if you've made it this far into the video, you may want to say thanks by subscribing, and don't forget to give a thumbs up if this video was helpful. This is Brian from Fishbee Productions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.